Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you getting on? So, the Xbox Developer Showcase has just been on by this evening, and yeah, it was kind of interesting. Not a whole lot of surprises there. In fact, I think there was only one thing in there that we didn't already know about. So, yeah, that's maybe a little on the disappointing side. On the other hand, although we already knew about pretty much everything, what's there is good. So, a lot of new release dates, a lot of things to look forward to, a lot of things that should be cool releases, even if we already knew about them. So let's have a quick look at some new trailers and some of my thoughts, which I have scribbled down on my notepad here. And yeah, we'll dive into this one. So, let's address the elephant in the room. The rumours surrounding an Oblivion remake that, well, it hasn't surfaced. So, yeah, no idea whether or not Oblivion is getting a remake at all. These rumours could be, based on what we know at the moment, complete hogwash. Or they might be true and they're just not announcing it yet. We just don't know. But there was not a whisper of anything along those lines or anything else coming from BGS either in this showcase today. So that's a little disappointing, and a lot of people were kind of had their fingers crossed and excited for that. I saw some flying past comments saying, oh, what, no Elder Scrolls 6? No, we won't hear much about that for a couple of years, no surprises there. Probably 2027 maybe 2026 if we're lucky. We might start to hear a bit more about it, but nothing major for quite some time. It's still in early development. As for Fallout stuff, well, that's after that, so yeah, no surprises there. But Oblivion, rumoured remakes, and potentially a New Vegas remake as well. Also, rumours are floating around, much less reliable ones. But yeah, I'm not surprised hugely that it's not there, but it is what it is. Yeah, there'll be another showcase in June, obviously in replacement for what used to be E3 that Xbox do, and everybody else pretty much does one around then as well. So we'll get a whole load of new stuff and updated stuff around about then. So I don't know, keep our eyes out on that one, I guess. See what happens. And then, of course, they might announce stuff later on in the year, around, say, the Game Awards, stuff like that, come December of this year as well. So we'll have to keep our eyes open, I guess, won't we? But there we go. That's what I have to say on the non-showing of a rumoured Oblivion remake. So, what actually was there? Well, first up, Ninja Gaiden 4. So this is being released in the autumn 2025, and it's coming from Team Ninja. I can't really offer a lot of comparison compared to the previous, presumably 3, Ninja Gaiden games, because I never played one. It looks kind of high-action, very... not so much console-centric, although to a degree that, but more controller-centric kind of a gameplay. Very controller-based action adventure type of game. And it looks a lot of fun. Looks very flashy. It's definitely got that cool vibe to it. We'll have to see whether or not I check this one out. It's not a huge priority for me. It's also, you know, way off at the other end of the year, so we'll worry about that sort of thing nearer the time. But if you are into that sort of thing, perhaps got a bit of nostalgia for games gone by and that sort of thing, it might be one to keep an eye on, because it looks pretty cool. If you are a PC player, I imagine it's going to require relatively solid hardware, but it doesn't look horrifically demanding. In fact, most of the stuff in here doesn't, with one maybe exception. So that's quite cool, but we'll actually obviously have to see close to the time. One thing that did come as a surprise, literally the only surprise really of the whole showcase, is that there is a remake of Ninja Gaiden 2 coming up. In fact, I say coming up, it's out already, right now, as we speak. They shadow dropped a remake of Ninja Gaiden 2 in the Unreal Engine. So, yeah, very much in fashion at the minute, Unreal. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. Particularly more open world stuff can be a bit hit and miss with Unreal, and obviously sometimes it has its issues with sort of shader compiling and stuff like that and performance. On the other hand, more focused action-based experiences, like, say, I don't know, Ninja Gaiden, will be perhaps better suited to the engine's strong suits. So that should be quite cool, I think. Either way, it's on Game Pass, so if you have that, go check it out if you want to. Yeah, the shadow dropped that, so that's quite cool. Interesting little surprise. Again, maybe I'll check it out on my own time. Don't think I'll be streaming it, but yeah, I don't have the nostalgia vibes that other people do from playing it before, so yeah, maybe if you enjoyed it in the past and you want to check out the remake, there's one for you. So, game number 2. This one is one that I am very much looking forward to, and I'm not particularly over the moon about the timing of the release date, but anyway, and that is South of Midnight. It is coming from Compulsion Games. I nearly got the word wrong there, but I looked it up. Yes, it's a very fun-looking concept. It's due out on the 8th of April, which is somewhat annoying to me because it's 2 weeks after Atomfall, which is back in March. And yeah, I definitely want to play Atomfall, which oddly wasn't in this showcase at all, given that it's really close and it's, I think, at least an Xbox in-house thing, kind of. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised to not see that be in there, but I don't know, it is what it is. Anyway, that one's coming out, and yeah, having these two games that I'm both interested in playing and probably streaming really, really close together is kind of annoying. Obviously, Atomfall's going to end up taking priority for me because it's set in the English Lakes, which is sort of the area I grew up. And yeah, it looks like a really, really cool concept. It's sort of somewhat Fallout-esque with a bit more kind of X-Files-y detective-iness to it, and open world set in the UK in an alternate history 1960s. Looks quite cool. So yeah. However, coming back to South of Midnight, that is now apparently going to slightly clash with that. We'll see how we deal with that. This looks very, very cool as well. So they've gone for a kind of stop-motion inspired animation for this, and the art style is really cool. It almost looks like it's kind of carved from wood, you know, like somebody just whittled most of it, or the environments look kind of hand-modelled in a way, but obviously in a 3D art style of that. So it's really, really cool. It's set in the sort of Louisiana area, the US South, and draws on a lot of folklore from that area and puts its own spin on it, which is an interesting choice for a games developer based in Canada. But nonetheless, it looks very, very cool, and I look to have dived into that. But a sort of somewhat Wizard of Oz vibe with the story premise, in that a hurricane blows on through, as it often does in that part of the world, and the protagonist, Hazel, her house, along with her mother inside it, gets swept down the river and disappear. And she then uses her newfound magical powers to work her way through this somewhat magical reality left behind in the wake of the hurricane, I think, kind of. And encounter all manner of weird and wonderful creatures and sort of magical environments and stuff. And tries to both battle and somewhat heal their tortured psyches, I think is the gist of it. Looks really, really cool, really, really fun. Looks like a sort of directed experience, so story-centric game, as opposed to, say, a more open world or a repeatable type thing. I think you'll probably get more or less the same experience every time you go through it. But definitely in favour of that. Cool single-player game. One thing I did notice that I am a little bit kind of about, you know, because that's apparently informative, is the sort of dichotomy between the gameplay footage we saw here and the more, I think, cutscene-centric stuff. And that is that the environments look way more high-detailed, high-res, and a kind of cinematic style in what I assume are cutscenes and cinematics compared to the regular gameplay. I think some of that's kind of inevitable, because you've got to deal with having the character and a space in which for combat to happen and things like that. But nonetheless, there is a bit of contrast between that. So I'm guessing the footage we've seen previously is more reminiscent of cutscenes, whereas the in-game action-centric, running around doing stuff part is a little more video gamey and a little less cinematic. So I did notice that contrast and thought I'd mention it. But yeah, as I say, this one's out on April the 8th, and I'm looking forward to checking this one out. I will almost certainly be streaming this, I think. So assuming all goes according to plan. Definitely excited to see more of it. So, game number 3 is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and this one will be releasing on the 24th of April. There's a lot of front-loading going on for 2025. I think the sort of summer and back half is a little more open-ended on the Xbox side of things, which makes me think the June showcase, now that I'm pondering it, might have a whole bunch of stuff in it. Because, yeah, they've got a big release window that I imagine they would like to put a bit more in if they have anything to put there. So, yeah, I think June will be one to watch on that one. Anyway, Clair Obscur. This is coming from Sandfall Interactive, who are a new studio. This is their debut title. They're based in France. And it is a small team working on a turn-based JRPG-esque game. And, yeah, it looks like a fascinating concept. It's sort of a fantasy take on France with a really kind of otherworldly horror element to it, and also sort of fantastic. I don't know if it's sort of an alternate dimension or something to that effect, or alternate world, but it has definitely a fantasy reality to it, on top of it having a fantastic version of France as its sort of starting point as well. The basic premise seems to be that some mystical being called, I think it was the Painter, or something to that effect, paints a big old number on the side of a monolith every year, once a year. That number is counting down. This year the number is 33. And everybody who is over that age, the age of the number that is painted, 33 in this case, is instantly vaporized. Or something to that effect, it seems. And obviously this gets more and more onerous each year, and people go out on expeditions in order to attempt to defeat said monstrosity. And you are part of this latest expedition. There's a lot of kind of darkness to it, a lot of an emotional story. Really, really cool looking art style, which is sort of blending somewhat... cartoon's not the right word, but kind of that sort of fantasy vibe to a degree, with modern graphic styles and a lot of JRPG sensibility. So it's kind of French fantasy sensibility meets JRPG sensibility, and it makes for a really, really cool looking game. There's some really interesting creatures and character stuff going on there, and it looks like it'd be a lot of fun. However, for me personally, the JRPG thing in the sort of turn-based setup, as in you go through a menu, select your attacks, and so on, you know, that kind of style that they have with sort of action-centric JRPGs, that whole kind of menu-based combat system, which I realise I am kind of stretching because there's other games I like that use a similar but different take on that. Anyway, it's not my bag, I'm going to have to say. I think the style and the premise and everything is really, really cool, but I know I won't enjoy playing the game, so... that one is not for me. I mean, that's the way it goes. Variety is the spice of life, but not everybody's going to be into everything. So, yeah, if you are a JRPG and fantasy-type fan, this is one to have a look at, I think. You'll definitely need up-to-date equipment on which to play it, either the up-to-date consoles or a reasonably up-to-date PC, because it definitely looks like it's going to be a demanding game, but it also looks like a pretty cool concept, I think, for those who are into that style of game. But yeah, definitely check that one out if you're into it. It is out on, as I say, the 24th of April. And that all brings us to the last entry in the Developer Direct Showcase, which is Doom the Dark Ages. Again, one that was announced last year and has quite a cool concept. We've got a release date for it now, which is the kind of same summer blockbuster, which, I mean, it's definitely summer in terms of the UK sort of climate. I don't know about other parts of the world. But it is releasing on the 15th of May. So, yeah, that's very cool. That's, again, more front-loading the year. As I say, once we get to, say, quarters 3 and 4 in particular, it's a little open-ended as to what Xbox have going on there at the moment. It may be that I'm forgetting something that they've already previously announced, but still, we're focusing on this particular showcase for now. So yeah, Doom the Dark Ages, next entry in the reworked series post-Doom 2016, and it's Doom with a bit of a medieval style to its art style. It definitely looks a lot like, you know, the last couple of Doom games have. Doom 2016, which I did chuckle because id have resisted referring to Doom 2016 in that way. They've just been calling it Doom, kind of militantly sticking to that line since it came out, although everybody else uses the year of release because it's confusing with the first one. So, yeah, in this particular showcase, they seem to have caved a little bit on that one, and they did call it 2016, which is... it gave me a chuckle anyway. But yeah, obviously it builds on that, and it seems to hark back to that in a way in its gameplay style a little bit, and in some other aspects as well, which we'll come to. But it's set up as a prequel to that game, which should be interesting. And yeah, definitely fun. Looking forward to checking this one out. I think of everything on the list, this has the potential to be the most hardware intensive. So we'll find out in the next however long, couple of months, I suppose, once system requirements start making an appearance. But yeah, I would definitely like to play this, but we will have to see if I can play this. It's going to be a big question. I definitely wouldn't want to play it on a console, although I've got an Xbox to play it on anyway. But shooters and controllers are not a great combo IMO. So there we go. Anyway, speaking of, the shift from the previous two games, obviously there was a big transition in the style of movement and combat between 2016 and Doom Eternal. Personally, I like 2016 more. This one seems to shift somewhat back towards 2016, but in a different take. So it's going to be less kind of jumpy, arcadey, aerial kind of movement that Doom Eternal had, and more on the ground focused like Doom 2016. But it's going to be slower, heavier, and tankier in its vibe, rather than moving fast and run and gun, which was the way they described 2016, which I think is fair. So yeah, a different tonal approach to it, but moving away from that really kind of hoppy, arcadey style, which I know a lot of people really like that. Personally, I didn't, so I think this is a great change. I don't think it'll be for everybody, but, you know, they're going to innovate, try new things. There's some things are going to land better with some people than others. It's part of the course, really, isn't it? There's a very interesting thing I did notice with the graphical style of it in particular, and that was that it has this kind of weird, almost like if Doom was a tabletop game kind of vibe. And I think this is more of a cutscene thing. It doesn't seem to be the case that you'll get that feel when you're running around and actually playing, but when you sort of load into a new level and you maybe get a panning shot of the level before you start getting stuck in, the angles and the look of the environment give it a little bit of a nod to D&D and tabletop gaming and that sort of thing in some of the level design elements, even though you're going to be going through it as a first-person shooter. It's just a little observation that I think will flash on by and then not be particularly relevant most of the time, but it's something I spotted and picked out I thought was interesting. There's a couple of new features that are quite fun, or potentially quite fun, that I'm looking forward to in this. There's a mech that we can pilot, and there's that cool dragon thing that we can fly around, the mechanical dragon type deal. Not a lot shown on that. It sounds like that either might be related to a specific level or possibly alternate game modes. They were none too clear on that. But they did say that they didn't want it to be a one-and-done kind of gimmick. It was more to it and a bigger thing, which makes me think possibly a different game mode rather than just being centered on a single level or something. But we'll find out more nearer the time, I'm sure. Interesting idea. The stuff that really struck me, however, was they've gone for more of an exploration style, which the previous two games didn't really have. There was hints of it maybe around Doom 2016, but again, not so much. In this case, it's not open world or anything, but it's more open levels, and you can sort of explore and find secrets and things like that and stuff hidden away. And there's a lot more finding of passkeys to open doors, which I know there was some of in Doom Eternal, but it was kind of, there was a bit more emphasis of it in 2016. So it's bringing more of those vibes back, and some of the things that perhaps, at least in my view, missing from Doom Eternal. So yeah, that looks quite cool. The whole kind of being able to explore and set off, and it doesn't necessarily say go from A to B to C to D in such a linear sense as the previous games perhaps have, particularly 2016, to be fair. It's got a bit more freeform, sort of choose your own direction to go in, even as you're heading out and completing objectives, which are tied to a whole story that is getting a little bit more emphasis as well. This is something that they're going to lean into. For me, Doom Eternal was maybe backed off a bit on the story and focused more on the action side of things. Obviously, 2016 was perhaps a bit more of a linear story-focused type of Doom, and I really enjoyed it for that. I thought it was cool. And I did miss that somewhat in Eternal. Looks like the story element is going to be a bit more upfront and centre again for Doom the Dark Ages, and we'll lean more into cutscenes this time, which it sort of did in 2016 to a degree as well. So, yeah, that sort of vibe will be coming back again, which should, they think, make it a bit more approachable. I think, I don't know whether or not it'll make it more approachable or not, but I do think it'll be a cool vibe and tone, and generally be quite a lot of fun. So I am looking forward to this one, I have to say. 15th of May for Doom the Dark Ages, and yeah, my big question mark, query, wonder, worry maybe, might be a good word as well, for this at the moment, as I said before, is the system requirements for me. My poor old Steam-powered PC at the moment definitely needs to be upgraded at some point, but we'll see how this one hangs on, I guess. Still, in the event that I can't play it, I'm not short on other options to focus on either, so got lots to keep my eye on. Some older stuff that I've been wanting to find a gap for. Worst case scenario, if I find that's not the end of the world either, is it? But yeah, I thought, although not a lot of new stuff in there, what was there was definitely very cool. Always a little sad that when the rumours don't pan out, or haven't panned out on the Oblivion front, I suppose. But nonetheless, also not massively shocking. We'll wait and see, I guess. I would guess if it's going to happen this year, June would be the likely time for an announcement on that sort of thing, given what we know their schedule now sort of looks like for 2025. But hey, we'll have to wait and see. If I hear anything that actually has a degree of credibility to it, then, well, I guess we'll be chatting about it, won't we? Anyway, hope you guys found that interesting and informative and got a little sneak peek at the whole showcase here and my thoughts and reactions to that. If you guys like the video, please consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate it. Hit that notification bell and you keep up to date with everything going on in the Bethesda space and, to a degree, the wider Xbox space as well. social media links, channel memberships, all that good stuff down below if you want to support the channel that way. Really, really appreciate that. And if you get a chance, join us for live streams too. We'll be playing some of this new stuff, and we've got ongoing stuff with Indiana Jones and Stalker and some other bits and pieces as well, which should be fun to check out too. So do join us for that. For now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.